Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, February 3rd meeting of the Tompkins County Legislature. The time is 5:30 and I would ask you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We could have a roll call of members, please.
Judith Hubbard.
Here.
John Hunt.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Rachel Oslin.
Here.
Iris Packman.
Here.
Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Lee Shirtliff.
Here.
Mike Sigler. Mr. Sigler will be joining us remotely in a little while. Adam Vinson.
Here.
Dan Wakeman.
Here.
Irene Weiser.
Here.
Christy Bianconi.
Here.
Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Shauna Black.
Here. Thank you. Are there any presentations, proclamations, petitions, communications, and notices this evening? I see none. This evening we will have an executive session, and we'll make note of what that's for at the end of our legislature meeting. Now we're going to move to privilege of the floor for our public, and we do have two blue cards here. If you're here and would like to speak on privilege of the floor, please make sure to fill out a blue card. Hi, Margaret. I see you're here from the city of Ithaca. Wonderful. So we'll go ahead and do rules for speaking under privilege of the floor. Number 1, I agree to a 3-minute time limit. Number 2, I agree not to raise my voice. Number 3, I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. Number 4, I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. Number 5, after 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. Number 6, I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. Number 7, I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. And we're going to start off first with Amanda Kirch-Gessner.
Good evening. Earlier today, I forwarded a draft resolution. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but my comments this evening are about why we should expand the use of flock technology to track ICE, and it encourages you to put onus upon Governor Hochul to authorize us to do so. I'm a lifelong resident of Tompkins County, and yeah. All right, I shared with you earlier today this resolution encouraging Hochul to authorize New York-based law enforcement agencies to use flock safety technology and similar to document and monitor policing activity within our state, including activity by federal agencies such as ICE. Let me be clear about the intent. This is not about targeting individuals. This is not about immigration status, and this is not about expanding enforcement power. This is about transparency, accountability, and constitutional compliance. Lawful public safety standards are harmed most when enforcement itself becomes lawless. When agencies operate outside legal boundaries, they don't just violate individual rights, they erode trust in every public safety institution. Lawfulness in execution is what gives law its authority. New York State is a sanctuary state. Our county is a sanctuary county. And this reflects a commitment to civil liberties, due process, and the principle that no agency, local, state, or federal, operates above the law. Recent policy proposals focus on ending formal contracts with ICE, but they leave untouched the many informal ways collaboration continues: intelligence sharing, transport assist, perimeter support, and operational coordination. In other words, even if contracts end, cooperation can continue. That's why local documentation matters. If federal agencies are acting lawfully, documentation protects them. If they're not, documentation gives our local institutions the evidence they need to respond appropriately. Flock technology already supports public safety through gun-involved violence reduction, locating missing persons, and recovering stolen vehicles. Extending its use towards oversight of law enforcement activity itself is simply the next logical step in modern accountability. And I want to say this plainly. If the federal government fails to protect lawful jurisprudence, the responsibility falls to the state and to local authorities to uphold constitutional freedoms. This is not radical. This is federalism. This is our civic duty. We already have trusted leadership in place. We trust our lawfully elected sheriff to uphold our constitutional rights and our lawfully elected district attorney to prosecute unlawful conduct by policing agencies. This resolution doesn't replace that leadership. It strengthens it with objective data. In a moment when public trust is fragile, Tompkins County has the opportunity to lead, to affirm that transparency strengthens public safety, that accountability builds trust, and that constitutional rights are not optional. I urge you to consider the resolution I put before you and formally request gubernatorial action. Let New York model lawful, visible, accountable policing for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Next is Zach Wynn.
Good evening. A quick update on the Asteri. From what I said last time, on my way home, the front door was locked, but now I'm told it was wide open again. So who knows what's going on over there? People were setting off fireworks in the stairwells 2 nights in a row. From what I understand, you might want to ask the fire department about that. So just a heads up. Last Friday, there was a protest turned street march through downtown. Today, I confirmed with the city clerk's office that no permit was applied for or granted for the event or the march that followed. This is the second time that this has happened recently. The more tenured members of the legislature may remember that for many years, I have objected to unpermitted street takeovers, some of which have become violent or seen attempts by mobs to open vehicle doors. One incident like this occurred right across the park at Buffalo and Cayuga about 5 years ago. Last year, I advocated for a statement from the legislature outlining what are and are not acceptable forms of protest and a specific condemnation of street takeovers and roadblocks. This was voted down, with some citing reluctance to condemn the behavior due to the political climate and for fear of stifling free expression. From my perspective, if a mob of people have the right politics, rules do not apply to them. They are immune from criticism, and their, quote, right to protest in the street takes priority over the right of people to peacefully travel. EMT James Smith has outlined the potential risk these roadblocks introduce to ambulances and people driving themselves to the hospital. They are not mere inconveniences. I would like to once again ask the legislature to condemn unpermitted shutdowns of traffic and to encourage people to keep their protests within the bounds of the law. If you do not find my objections to this street takeover compelling, I invite you to imagine how you would feel if several hundred members of Patriot Front or the Proud Boys were to engage in the same conduct, directing traffic and saying who can go where and when. No attempt was even made to apply for a permit because without pushback against or consequences for unpermitted street takeovers, there is no reason to apply for a permit. And if the sentiment of the protesters overrides the rule of law because the ends justify their means, what other conduct does it allow? Where is the line? Will they be setting up checkpoints and checking IDs next? It is clear that people traveling downtown are simply expected to tolerate these occasional seizures of the public right-of-way. They have been going on for more than a decade. They deliberately cause major traffic snarls. It is one of the reasons why people avoid coming downtown. As the weather warms, there will almost certainly be more of these unpermitted street takeovers, more roadblocks, and if comments on our online are any indication, more angry people who are resentful of being trapped in their cars. Now is your opportunity to make it clear to the public what expectations are and that two wrongs do not make a right. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. If there's anyone else here that would like to speak on privilege of the floor, we do have blue cards at the back table. Next, I see that Margaret Fabrizio from the City of Ithaca is here for a city update. Thanks for attending tonight, Margaret.
Thanks so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I am so happy to be here as a council liaison to all of you, and congrats to all the new members. I haven't met all of you yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And thank you to those of you who have returned, came back for more. You're needed and you're really appreciated. And I very much want to do all possible to help us be closer colleagues. The city and the county have so many overlapping concerns and aspirations, and I hope 2026 will be a year of closer communication and collaboration in all that we're doing. And I invite all of you to reach out to me if I don't get to you before that. I would really love to see a regular meeting of, for starters, the city reps on the county board meeting with me and some of my colleagues. So I'm hoping we can make that happen. So on to our news, and I know this looks like I have a lot. I'm going to try to talk very quickly and stay on target. That's why I wrote it all out. So most importantly, we're running 2 critical searches right now. Our controller search interviews are underway, and the Human Resources Director Search Committee begins interviewing next week. With regard to the controller's office in the meantime, in order to proceed with the rest of our audits that need to be done, we contracted with a group, the Bonadillo Group, an accounting and consulting firm. They have 7 offices throughout New York State and in other parts of the country. They're going to be assisting with preliminary work for all 4 years of the audits that we need to get ready. So they were originally engaged to do the audits, but they discovered after digging into it that they needed to do more preliminary work, some cleanup work, to get us so that we're really audit ready. So they're going to be working remotely as much as possible, but also coming and working on site when needed. The acting city manager is keeping a very close watch on this and meeting monthly with the firm. And, I can just say that it is our highest priority to get all of these submitted as quickly as possible, and the council is committed to ensuring that this work is fully supported and that it proceeds without any further delays. We are finalizing tomorrow quite a few important expenditures. One is the Cass Park Capital Improvement Project. So this involves new restrooms, a new storage building, and a new pavilion. And about half of this money came through grants, but the city's also put in over $1 million for this. We did get $500,000 from the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Senator Webb was able to help us with $300,000. Assemblymember Kellis, $200,000. We got some money from the IURA Development Block and from NYSERDA. So this involves large pavilion, large storage building, 4 all-gender bathrooms connected, I guess, with the pavilion, and then also the Union Field restroom and storage building also has 4 all-gender bathrooms there. So it's a really big improvement. I think all of these things were like long overdue. And this is one of my things, so I'm just going to say it. Cass Park is a really highly valued community-wide resource, and I would love this. I know that my constituents and my colleagues also would love to see the city and the county working together to plan for reliable regional support for regional resources like Cass Park, Stewart Park, and the Waterfront Trail. And those of you who I know, we've had these conversations, and it is a thing that I'm hoping that we can have some productive conversations about. These are community-wide amenities that are accessible to everyone as they should be, and they need to be supported with a steady stream of funding to ensure the future stewardship that they need and that they deserve. So I'm hoping we can talk about that at some point here in the near future. Another noteworthy initiative on the agenda this month, the Roots program, which stands for Responders Offering Outreach, Trust, and Support. This is going to be another step closer to concrete. This is an outgrowth of the city's Reimagining Public Safety Initiative. So council will be releasing funds for a preliminary start to develop and initiate this pilot program, which will utilize no more than 3 unarmed responders to respond to nonviolent calls. And this program will work in collaboration with the additional unarmed response services currently in place, as well as with IPD, obviously. Those already existing complementary services include 2 that the county is partnering with us on. The city is really grateful for the county's support of the mental health co-responder team, the CARE person that we are sharing, and the Community Justice Center. These are critical programs for our residents as well as our downtown business community. So thank you so much for your partnership on those. For this program, we've committed 3 years. We encumbered funds last year, and we've committed 3 years of funding for this pilot program. I want to now just mention, some of you zoomed into the recent Tompkins County Workers Center presentation on just cause legislation. Thank you for those of you who plugged into the start of this discussion. I really want to emphasize that we are at the start, at the very beginning of this. This is not a preordained conclusion. The mayor's resolution, which you can find online and will be voted on tomorrow, makes it clear that we're looking for an inclusive, robust, honest discussion and invite all interested and potentially affected small and large business owners to participate. So tomorrow's meeting will be, there's a wrongful discharge and labor protection special committee that will be voted on to be established. And its charge includes things like helping ascertain what specific abuses are being alleged, if there's a problem, understanding how widespread it is, knowing what additional worker protections a municipality could or couldn't implement in New York State. I mean, this most basic piece of information has really not been determined yet. Knowing what remedies are already in place, what the costs would be both financial for the city and employers, and exploring what the reputational and obviously the opportunity cost would also be. So these are just some of the questions meant to be answered. We're going to be getting a deep look, getting real data, and ensuring all voices are heard and considered. In recognition of Black History Month, I just want to say the Diane Sams African American History Month Award will be presented tomorrow, and this is going to be presented in recognition of the just retired Alderperson Phoebe Brown and her long history of consistently speaking up for those underrepresented and marginalized in our community. And because the winter is long and cold and we all really need to add fun into our lives, I just want to put out a plug for the next big downtown community event, which is just barely a month away, and that is the Chili Cook-Off, March 7th. Mark your calendars, 12 to 4. One thing that people may not know about the Chili Cook-Off is that it's actually Downtown Ithaca Alliance's only fundraiser of the year, and it directly supports the other free events that they sponsor, which includes the Apple Harvest Festival and the Summer Concert Series. I just learned about this because I'm, in addition to being the liaison to all of you, I am now on the DIA board, so which I'm very excited about working with. So come buy your tickets and help keep the downtown vibrant. I hope I will see you there, and I hope that you will take me up on my invitation to meet up, get together. I will take any easy questions that you might have.
Thank you, Margaret. That was a great report. Any questions for Margaret?
Okay, thank you for your work.
Okay. I also just want to commend the City of Ithaca for continuing on Reimagine Public Safety. You all have definitely taken it to the next step, and that's really thoughtful and very impressive. Also want to let my colleagues know, as well as Margaret, that we are going to start having monthly meetings. There is a work group that has Travis Brooks and Adam Vincent and myself. And Katrina just scheduled those, is in the process of scheduling those with the city council members and the mayor. So, and every Friday I have a conversation with Mayor Rob, just to get on the same page and communicate what's going on. So we are trying to open up the airways and be more collaborative. So. Yeah, great. Thanks, Margaret. Veronica.
Yeah, can I still ask a question of Margaret?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
As long as she's up for it.
Yeah, I didn't.
It has to be easy, though.
I didn't get my hand up. So this is easy because you could say, I don't know. I know that a bunch of the anti-flock activists are coming to your meeting tomorrow. I guess it's your turn to have a big crowd.
Good heads up, thank you.
Yeah. Is changing the city's relationship with or use of the flock cameras something that's up for discussion regardless, or have there been talks about that?
There have been thoughts about it. We haven't had any formal presentation on it, so I think we're still waiting to hear more from the police chief about that and the city manager. But yes, it is something that I think everybody on council is very concerned about and interested in understanding much better.
Greg Mezzi?
Sorry, I guess we all took the opportunity. Or we didn't all take it. I guess I will. Thank you. One, that was, I think, the best report the city's ever given, and I really appreciate your detail. So I'm excited to have you be a part of this journey with us over the next however long your appointment is for. With the Just Cause Special Committee.
Yep.
What other special topics is council looking to take up in such a way? Because it seems like from some of your comments that even the most basic of information or data points that there maybe even is an issue that would exist is really unknown at this point. There are several issues within the city where there's data that supports serious issues that need to be addressed. And I'm wondering if council is going to take them up in a similar way to how they're taking up a topic that really has not had much public data around there being a widespread issue within the city. So what's council working on in a similar manner to that issue?
Did you have anything else in mind? You mean completely separate issues?
Sure. I'll stick with housing, zoning, economic development, healthcare, childcare, infrastructure,
right.
Natural resource management, parks and recreation. That's just off the top of my head.
So the mayor has set up a whole slew of advisory committees and that cover all of those topics exactly. And so what's happening right now, and we just got them going like in the month of January, we are charged with meeting twice a week. So there are about 4 council members on each one. And we are trying to just like dig into a bunch of issues. So I would say those are meant to be open to the public. And we're trying to organize them in such a way that there would be agendas and they would be published and they would be transparent and there would be an opportunity for community input. So I think there's a very big commitment on the part of the mayor and on the part of council to like open up and bring the voices to the table on so many things. And obviously, Asteri is on the top of everybody's mind. It's on the top of mine. It's like at the top of my list. And working with the Downtown Ithaca Alliance, everything downtown is of huge importance to all of us. And I mean, it's really something that I'm just taking so seriously. The state of the parking garages, for instance, a lot of things. So within those advisory committees, I think there'll be an opportunity. They cover a huge, broad range of things. And I think we would welcome, hearing from you as well to see, what's on your mind and also where are points of intersection and how can we best connect and collaborate and work together to make progress, real progress that we want to make.
Great, thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Margaret?
Awesome. I am so jealous of
Thanks,
your
Margaret.
chambers.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move to legislator privilege of the floor. Iris Beckman.
Thanks. Just a brief event that's happening on Friday night that one of my constituents made me aware of. At the Cafe DeWitt, there's a Busking for Justice concert from 5:30 to 7. It benefits legal aid for immigrants facing deportation. It's several different local musicians. It's free admission, but donations are certainly welcomed. So,
what's the date?
This Friday, the 6th, from 5:30 to 7 at Cafe DeWitt in the DeWitt Mall.
Great. Judith Hubbard.
To follow up with upcoming events, on Saturday, February 7th, from 1 to 3, Ithaca College is hosting the Community Math Day, which is an event for children in pre-K through grade 5. As a daughter of a mathematician and a sister of a mathematician, I highly encourage you all to go. Math seems to be a great field for people to get jobs in.
Any other questions, comments? Legislator privilege of the floor. You guys are a very quiet bunch tonight. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move to a chair's report very quickly. I just want to congratulate and wish our friend who is our AV person, Rob Henry, the best wishes. Tonight is his last night. He has been with us for 4 years, and he's always been so helpful and friendly and knowledgeable. And he is the reason why most of our meetings run so smoothly. So he's going to be moving to Colorado with his fiance, and we are going to miss him dearly. We have a new employee, Chris, who is now up there training with him. But if we could just give Rob a quick clap. And thank you, Rob. I want to begin by addressing concerns about federal immigration enforcement activities in different parts of the country. I want the public to know that locally, county leadership and administration is in regular communication with the Sheriff's Department, Ithaca Police, and the Mayor's office. We also know that it's not a matter of if it will happen, but probably when it will happen. Our local law enforcement agencies are focused on public safety, maintaining trust, and protecting the well-being of all of our community. We have worked hard through our Reimagined Public Safety process to rebuild trust in our community, and we hope that we will prove to make us stronger in these uncertain times. We will continue to work collaboratively, and we are committed to keeping all residents informed and safe. I also want to pause and acknowledge the tragic killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. While these incidents did not occur in Tompkins County, they have had a profound impact here because they were connected to federal immigration enforcement activities and have raised fear and concern in many communities across the region and the country. Particularly in our county, we realize that ICE can appear without notice. We stand firm with resolve that we will protect those that need protecting. However unpredictable, vicious, and vengeful actions on behalf of our federal government put us all at risk. On behalf of the legislature, I want to express our sincere condolences to everyone who is grieving. We recognize the pain and anxiety that acts of violence can cause, and we remain committed to our community safety and to supporting the services that help our community heal. Finally, I want to share that Deborah and our administrative team met this past week with Congressman Josh Riley to discuss Tompkins County priorities and several important federal issues. We talked about the potential impacts of a partial federal government shutdown and what that can mean for our local programs and residents. We also discussed a concern for certain work requirements needed for SNAP benefits and that we can see an uptick in hungry individuals and families. I emphasize the importance of stability, continued federal partnerships, and clear communication. We will continue to advocate for our county's needs and keep both this legislature and the public informed as these conversations move forward. Also, I wanted to let my colleagues know that Katrina and myself met with our security and safety team and county administration this afternoon, and we are in the process of establishing protocols to keep our chambers and our campus safe. We will also have de-escalation and active shooter training that will be scheduled for the next few months. Thank you all. Next, we're going to move on to our special topical presentation, and I would like to invite Shauna and David up to give our presentation about, and this is from the Department of Planning and Sustainability. We thought that it would be really important for our community as well as our legislature to learn about the 2024 housing snapshot.
Not today.
Welcome to you both. It's very nice to have you.
Thank you. I'm just going to set up on Zoom really quick. So good evening. My name's Shauna Stevenson. I'm the Housing and Community Development Planner with the Tompkins County Planning and Sustainability Department, and I'm here with my colleague David West. He's the Director of Housing and Community Development in the same department. And this presentation is going over our data collection and analysis of the 2024 Housing Snapshot. The housing snapshot comes from our housing needs assessment from the county that was established in 2016. And what this did was to inform the housing strategy, which was a strategy that looked at what did this community need for housing, and it focused on different types of units, including workforce, senior units, supportive and special needs beds, and student beds. And when these targets were established, that's when the housing snapshot began to be reported on, which monitored the trends and conditions and how we saw that units were being developed over time, and also to provide data to support and inform local housing efforts since the strategy was adopted. The 2024 Housing Snapshot builds off of previous snapshot reports. So we use a lot of the same sources that we have in the past, including the United States Census Bureau, American Community Survey data, 5-year estimates, as well as local data from New York State Department of Labor and our partners here at the Department of Assessment and GIS. And we also got a lot of input from our local experts and municipal staff to give input on our report. And what this report goes over is our demographic and workforce trends, which would inform housing development in our community, as well as tracking the housing targets established by the strategy. And you might be wondering why we're talking about 2024 when we're in 2026 now, but a lot of this data is finalized in 2023 and 2024. So we're using the best available data that we can to report on this. And also we're reporting on equity indicators, which was part of the county plan to begin tracking some of those indicators in our housing. So to start, this is a chart that shows what the targets were set with the strategy in 2017 and where we're at the end of 2024. And the blue represents what's remaining, and the orange represents the units that were constructed. So and the chart on the left, you can see that the for-sale single-family homes and for-sale condos were a lot less than what the targets were set for. Other targets that were better met, though, were seen in the student beds. That's all the way in the right of that chart. We pretty much met the need based on enrollment that we saw in Ithaca College and Cornell University enrollment. And we also saw that there was supportive housing units that were built that met the original goal, but future assessments had indicated that we would want to build more in the community. And likewise, the rental units are about halfway met. So that's workforce housing in particular. And we'll get into what these targets are tracking in future slides. And we looked at demographic trends for Tompkins County, and we saw that the population remained roughly the same using American Community Survey data, so about 102,000, give or take. A big change that we saw was the increase of households. So we saw that there's more households even though the number of people in the county have remained the same. So that indicates that there's a need for 1 to 2 bedroom units, and so that was an interesting statistic that came out of our research. Also, we saw that the proportion of those 65 years and older has increased from 2013 to 2023. That's what the chart on the right is showing, is the different proportions of age groups in the county from 2013 to 2023. But this is still a very young community. Almost half of the population is less than 30 years old, but that we saw a slight decrease from 2013. Employment trends were another surprising factor that we saw in our research. but maybe not so surprising because you see the dip in employment is noticeable in 2020 during the pandemic, and the number of employed hasn't increased back to the levels pre-pandemic. But what this chart is showing is the number of those employed locally in Tompkins County. It's not available jobs, and it doesn't track those who are living in Tompkins County and maybe employed elsewhere, working remotely. But it's just part of the trend here that we're seeing that there's just less people employed locally since the 2020 pandemic. And on top of that, the county's unemployment rates have also remained low compared to New York State and the surrounding counties. So it does suggest that there's a shortage of workers in Tompkins County. And next, we'll look at housing cost burden. So housing cost burden is defined by your gross income, spending 30% or more of your gross income on your housing costs. So for renters, that includes your rent and utilities. And for homeowners, that includes your mortgage, your homeowner's insurance, and utilities. So what we're seeing, and then severely cost burdened means that you're spending over 50% of your gross income on those costs for renters and for homeowners. So according to American Community Survey data, what we saw was that renters are continuing to become cost burdened from 2013 to 2023. And the inverse is true for homeowners, where we saw a decrease in housing cost burden, both for those with a mortgage and those without a mortgage, but especially those without a mortgage. And that's not to say that homeowners aren't cost burdened, but rather the proportion of homeowners experiencing that cost burden of spending 30 or 50% of their income is less than we're seeing for renters, which a higher proportion of renters are becoming cost burdened over time. Another metric we were tracking was housing tenure by race. So this chart is data from the 2020 decennial census, and race and ethnicity are self-reported by the householder that's answering the survey here. And what we saw was that those identifying as white alone accounted for 77% of all householders in Tompkins County, but they represented 88% of owner-occupied households in Tompkins County. So if you're looking at the chart there, the black represents the percent of total householders in Tompkins County, the blue is the percent of owner-occupied, and green is renter-occupied. So you just see that as a proportion of the population, those identifying as white alone are more likely to be a homeowner than any other race in our community. And it just shows that there's a disproportionate prevalence of renters in any other category. And additional to what's shown, Hispanic and Latino householders represented about 4.7% of total householders, but only 2.3% of owner-occupied and 7.1% of renter-occupied households. And it just shows that housing affordability, when you're looking at the housing cost burden for renters and homeowners, it impacts racial equity in this community. So this is a chart showing the median sales price for a single-family housing unit in Tompkins County from 2020 to 2024. And as you see, Tompkins County is much more expensive than our surrounding area. And let's see. And although we have a higher median income, about $73,000 here in Tompkins County, it's not that much more than our surrounding area, so it makes Tompkins County especially expensive for our area, even though the median income is roughly the same. And the report goes into, the housing snapshot report goes into what it might look like for someone to try to buy a home on a median income. And what we see is that you would need over $26,000 cash to be able to buy a median priced home in this area, which is very out of reach, especially if you're coming from a renter situation to save that much money and to buy a home. So although you might own a home now, it might be easier to own that home than it is to buy a new home in this area and in this market. But we've seen in more recent data that although prices are still increasing, the percent of the price received is decreasing since 2022. So people aren't spending a lot more than the asking price anymore to buy a home in Tompkins County. And it just seems that it's becoming a little bit closer to a normal market here for sale housing. The rental housing market is similar for those looking to rent. The rent here in Tompkins County is much more expensive than surrounding areas, with a median rent of about $1,600. An individual would have to gross over $63,000 a year to keep their housing cost burden below 30%, and that's just for a one-bedroom apartment. And the median household income has not kept up with the increase of rental costs. So if median income went up about 8%, the median cost of rent has gone up about 11%. So you can kind of see how that divide from what people are earning to what they have to spend for renting to become bigger and become less affordable over time. So now we'll go over the specific targets and what we were able to track. So the data that we collected to see how many units were built was based off of Department of Assessment data, as well as tracking local developments through news and local planning board minutes and other developments. So what we saw was that there was about 666 new single-family homes since 2016. Some may be rentals. We haven't been able to get that data quite that clean, but that's what we were able to see. Condominiums, we did not see 800 of them. They're very challenging to build in this area for a number of reasons. So that's why that number is very low. And we were hoping also through the housing strategy to see homes that were affordable at $200,000 or less, but as the cost of construction and the market in general has gone up, we see that that number would have been closer to $256,000 for adjusted inflation dollars. So, you know, the target, it was hopeful, but at this point, at the end of the projection, we're seeing that we're not seeing many homes being affordable at $200,000 being built. Workforce housing specifically is for those earning up to 100% of area median income. We were hoping to see 2,000 new rental units affordable to those families. We saw about 755. Senior housing, which was not included in that last slide, was specifically talking about subsidized senior housing units and market rate as well. As you're seeing, there's a growing number of those over 65 years old in this community. So especially looking at that number, we see that we have not gained many units in the subsidized senior apartments. The Medicaid assisted living program facility, that has been stalled. That was a target in the strategy, but reaching out to New York State, the program has not been active in a while, so that's no longer a target. And the market rate senior housing units, we saw about 113 come online that were age restricted when built, but those projects have been open to the general market because of a slow lease up. For supportive housing and special needs beds, we did meet the initial target of the housing strategy. We wanted to see 100 permanent supportive housing beds, and we saw 189 of those created since 2016. But we have not seen as many single room occupancy beds reserved for those earning under 30% of AMI or area median income. And the chart on the right, it shows how many people have experienced homelessness for the first time in the green bar, and the blue bar shows the total homeless counts of those experiencing at least one night of homelessness in 2024, and or in the year that it's reporting. And you see those numbers going up slightly over time, so there is an increased need for this. And the Tompkins County Continuum of Care also, in their report, Home Together, Tompkins in 2022, calling for additional permanent supportive housing units and 50 low barrier shelter beds. So those additional targets have not been met. Student beds, we saw as a target that we're tracking did meet their target goal to keep up with enrollment. So just seeing the trends of enrollment between Cornell University and Ithaca College, we saw that there were enough units between dorms and beds specifically. So for student beds, actually we track beds, not units. So it might be multiple bedrooms in a unit, but that counts towards this number. We also look at development focus areas. So that's a strategy of Tompkins County development to encourage development in areas of the county that are already developed with infrastructure and access to transportation. And that just helps to conserve the environment as well as connecting people to resources that they need with accessible transportation. And we saw that about 61% of all new housing was constructed in one of those development focus areas or DFAs. Most of them built in the urban center, which includes City of Ithaca, Lansing, and the surrounding area. And I'll pass it on to David to take it away.
Thanks, Shauna. So what does this mean for us? What do we take away? The first thing that I think is important to understand is that the strategy set targets for the private market to reach based on where we were in 2017. We looked at the data at that point and extrapolated out into the future, and we made targets for the kinds of housing that we as a community thought were most important to make sure we're hitting. I think it's important to understand that we didn't set targets for all kinds of housing. So you'll see, you didn't notice that we hit or didn't hit a target for market rate rental because we didn't set one. So we haven't been tracking against a goal for that because there wasn't one at that time. The metrics that we used in 2017, for example, the goal of having a house for under $200,000 was very difficult then, but costs of housing and construction have increased dramatically since then. That is well out of reach at this point in time. And was, to be honest, very difficult at that time. We weren't seeing a lot of new single-family homes built at that price point. This snapshot shows that there is a significant need for more affordable and permanent supportive housing. Cost burden continues to rise disproportionately for renters. As much as we have built, we have made an impact, but the need has gone up faster, and we haven't been meeting the new need. Homeownership remains difficult and out of reach for those without significant cash savings for down payments and closing costs. During the pandemic, we did see an influx of people with money who could move here from larger cities, who could buy expensive units. We saw prices shoot up. That is a big part of the reason that we see cost burden going down, because you have wealthy people buy houses, they're not cost burdened. It is too expensive for most normal working class people to buy a house in Tompkins County at this point in time. We also see a need for smaller houses, smaller housing units. Our household size, like households across the entire country, have shrunk dramatically. We tend to have in our kind of collective imagination a picture of what the average household is, 2 parents, a couple kids, maybe a dog. The fastest growing household type is 1 and 2 person households. And that is where the most need for housing is in our community. There's a big mismatch between the units that we have and the households that we have. And that only increases as baby boomers and even elder millennials like myself become empty nesters. And our younger cohort of Xennials are forming households at a much slower rate. They're delaying marriage. They're not having as many kids. So the trend is going to continue of more and more smaller households being in great demand in the coming years. So this is a great time to take a look at this information as we look forward. We've reached the end of the time period that our data was looking at with the 2017 strategy and the 2016 needs assessment. They all went into 2025. So this year we are kicking off the next housing strategy to look over the next 10 years. How do we do in the last 10 years? What things did we do that worked? Because there have been a lot of successes. And what are the things that we need to stretch on? If we really want to meet those goals, where do we need policy changes? Where do we need investment changes? And how can we help the private market and the nonprofit market go further in meeting the housing needs that we have. I'm going to go to the last slide. This is our contact information. We're going to be very available to this group as we move forward. You can reach out to us. The housing snapshot is available on our website within the housing subsection of the Planning and Sustainability Department. Really appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you. We love getting FaceTime. And now is our favorite part, which is having a conversation and answering your questions. So thank you for having us and looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for joining us. Are there any questions for Shauna and David? Okay, I have Judith, Dan, and Rachel. Okay, lots of people.
Thanks for this presentation. I was wondering about the Southworks project, how that fits into what we can expect in terms of 1 and 2 bedroom or small units or large units.
Yeah, so the Southworks project is a very long-term project, but the first phase of it that's coming online, the county participated in pursuing an infrastructure grant for $1 million that was achieved last year. They just got a bunch more money from the state. So the Woods is the first component of Southworks that will start in the town of Ithaca, in the kind of forest above the main Southworks complex. So that's a few hundred units there that will be affordable. Within the actual project itself, it could have as many as 900 homes. And, you know, it's got a lot of different types of buildings and a lot of space for new buildings. So there'll likely be some condos, likely be some expensive apartments, likely be some affordable apartments. So that mix is kind of unfolding as it goes forward. But it is very exciting to see, one, the big funding come in for that first piece of it that really kicks it off. I don't know if you've been up there recently, but the first retail tenant just opened, Found, which is exciting to see something happening, starting that snowball, that over time, I think it's a whole new neighborhood.
And will those be a mix of rentals and homeowner occupied or?
I think that remains to be seen. That's definitely been talked about. The first project is all rental.
Next is Dan Wakeman.
Thank you. It's informative. I appreciate it. A technical question. Slide 9, your for sale housing market, the one with the green bars. It says average, but I heard median. Both would be useful, but which is this?
What's shown in the chart is the average, and the median priced home is median, the $325,000 amount. So what's shown here is the average price.
Thank you.
I have Rachel, Lee, and Irene.
Thank you for the presentation. I have 2 questions. The first one on page 11, or slide 11, for the new single-family homes that actually were built, do you know what price point those ended up being?
It is explained in the housing snapshot report. I don't have that number right at the top of my head, though. Sorry.
I guess not exactly. I just didn't know if they were even close to any of the targets.
No, not really. I don't have the number off the top of my head. I'm sorry. They're mostly exceeding that.
Essentially, the only way to hit those numbers is with dramatic government subsidy. So like INHS built new houses that, you know, cost twice that, but were sold in that range. Mm-hmm. But we're not really seeing anyone building new that's not subsidized.
Okay. And then my other question, I know you said that, you know, there wasn't a target set for the market rate rentals, but I mean, obviously we can see like more and more being built. Are those filled? Like, do we find that when more market rate rental housing is built, those are all?
So one of the, I think, most interesting metrics of the snapshot is that our vacancy rate has gone up overall across the whole market. So when I moved here, the city of Ithaca vacancy rate was 0.2%. And generally a healthy market is 5 to 10, 5 to 8, depending on who you ask. We are getting closer to 5. We're still below that. And depending on which data you use, there are some like commercial data brokers that sell much more up-to-date data. That data is based really on the more corporate offerings, like the bigger buildings, that tends to show a higher vacancy rate because it's skewed towards that product. We do see that the newest buildings, when they open, normally when a building opens, it's 100% vacant, and then it slowly fills. In our market, 5 years ago, you could fully lease a building before it opened, and there were builders doing things like having a performance term in their contract that the contractor would have to put everyone in a hotel until the building was finished if they didn't meet the deadline. We're past those days, so it does take longer to fill up buildings. We are seeing some buildings that, as things settle out, have higher vacancy than they planned for, which is why we've seen some buildings change hands. And it's kind of part of capitalism, I guess.
Thank you.
Lee?
I know here at least one Medicaid assisted living program was targeted and none on page 13. What's your sense of where that's going, or what are the odds of being able to see Medicaid assisted living?
Just with my conversation with the Office of the Aging Director, it didn't seem, and just my own research as well, I did not see that this program was moving forward. I think there might be draft language or something, but that program kind of stalled. So it's not an area specific issue. It's on the state level, that program just seems to be behind or stalled.
That's a real shame. Look no further than the statistics on where the age ranges are going and the need for such a program. And, ultimately, we bear a much stronger cost when someone needs assisted living, and the only option is to go into skilled nursing, much more expensive on everybody involved, including the county. And it's only going to get worse. Thanks.
Lee, it's interesting you bring that up because 6 years ago, whenever Lisa Holmes was in the Office of Aging, we sat right at that table and talked about assisted living subsidized by Medicaid. And we also met with Longview and talked about them getting a license. And unfortunately, the state was not handing out license for any more assisted living. There was essentially a moratorium on them. The other part of it is that Medicaid, the reimbursement for assisted living for seniors, because people have such high acuity, the Medicaid payout did not make it a great business model. So next I have Irene and then Deb.
Yeah, thanks. This is a lot of work and a really nicely laid out survey that in a way documents kind of what we've all known, right? Which isn't to diminish the effort and the merit of it, because it gives us kind of a read of where we are and where we can get to next. I'm really interested in, you mentioned a little bit that now you can look at what worked, what didn't work, but what are the kind of things, what are the activities that you actually engage in to, once you have this data, to encourage more affordable housing or more senior housing or, whatever it is? What do you do once you have this to sort of move us forward?
It's a fantastic question, and I think it's great to look at, there was a headline, county fails to meet their goals. Yeah. Like, oh, we didn't do a good job. The things that we do, we often describe in planning as kind of setting the table, right? So and it's not even things we do, it's things we encourage municipalities to do. Because the county doesn't have land use control, the county can't change zoning. Zoning is one of the main, zoning and process are two of the main barriers to housing creation. The third, there's even less we can do about, which is just the cost of things. Things are expensive. And we're in an interesting spot where housing here is expensive for us, but it's cheap for the rest of the country. So we're actually below median in our housing costs, but it's high for the incomes that we make. So things that we can do is help municipalities to improve their zoning to allow projects to go more smoothly. We bring in money is a large role of county planning. So bringing in money for rehabilitation and preservation of existing units and also supporting new projects. Tompkins County is actually one of the best outcomes for low-income housing tax credits. We've actually had the state tell us, like, you're getting as many awards as you could possibly get, because we've had conversations about how could we get more. We'd like to get 3 LIHTC projects in a year, and we always get one. They have to spread it out around the state. We tend to get one almost every year, and that's doing really super good. We got 2 one year, and that was something we thought we were even told was never going to happen. But so we can keep pushing there. I also think we're kind of the conveners of conversation. So helping this conversation along of what can we do at the local level to connect sites with development, to connect the right kinds of regulations, to reform zoning, to kind of bring all of those pieces together so that the people who build housing know that they can get it done, know that it's wanted, have this data to back it up, that when they build it, there will be people to fill it. And, at the far end of what can you do, we could use county land and master plan it for redevelopment. The more active you get, the more risky and expensive those actions are. But that's the whole range.
So do you have interactions with developers? I'm thinking back to, I don't know how many years ago it was now, there was the housing forum, the 2-day thing that was coordinated here. I'm just wondering, I hear that you convene municipalities, but do you bring in other stakeholders to work on it too, including developers, to hear what their needs are? And
absolutely, yeah. I met with a developer on an exciting site this week. We worked with connecting a landowner that says that they are interested in selling, and connecting them with the municipality, and also with people who might be interested in buying or building, and with the state programs that could provide support. So yeah, there's it's a different job every day. There's different things coming in, but yeah.
And you also plug them, kind of cross-fertilize them with the Business Energy Advisory Program to help them figure out how to build in environmentally efficient ways.
Yeah.
Good, yay. Cool, thanks.
Deborah, and then Randy.
Irene asked my question, thank you.
Okay, Randy?
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for sharing the information. It was very helpful. What is your thought on manufactured housing with a planned community where people actually own the manufactured home as a solution?
I think that's awesome. That's actually one of the last things I worked on before coming here. I worked for the city of Geneva that owned a lot of property they didn't want to own, sold land to someone to subdivide it and put manufactured homes on it and sell those manufactured homes as a new home, fee simple lot. That is the only way that you can get a new house for under $200,000. I think you're still probably right around, maybe 180, maybe 240, but in that range. It's something the state is behind. They have a program called Move in New York that provides a lot of funding for that. I would love us to be able to go after that funding. To do that, we need 10 lots that are ready for mobile homes in one municipality somewhere in the county. They're really targeting places that have large land banks, that a lot of disinvestment, like Syracuse, where there's, 400 vacant lots in the city with that program. But today, manufactured homes are built as good as stick-built homes. Municipalities are legally required to treat them like stick-built homes in zoning. It used to be that you could say, oh, no single wides in this town, or no double wides, except in mobile home parks. That's illegal now, and manufactured homes installed on a permanent foundation have to be treated like any other home. And it really is, right now, the most affordable way to get single-family homes on the ground.
Thank you.
John Hunt.
Is it possible for people to get a mortgage on a manufactured home? I recall it was difficult.
It didn't used to be possible, but it now is. On a permanent foundation.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you both for attending our meeting tonight and answering these hard questions. I remember attending the snapshot back in 2017 whenever Megan did it at the library. And I hate to say not much has changed. The needs are still very similar. So thank you. Next, we're going to have reports by our county administrator. And Bridget is here, Deputy County Administrator Bridget Nugent.
Good evening. Thank you. I have just a few updates on behalf of County Administration, and then Chair, you had requested an update on the forthcoming SNAP changes that you had mentioned in your comments. So I'll take some time to go through some talking points on that, and I've also invited our Commissioner of Social Services, Brittany Earle, to chime in as I wrap that up.
Great.
So in terms of general updates, we're making significant progress on the renovations required at 31 Dutch Mill Road. We expect to have both the Departments of Assessment and our County Office for the Aging relocated up there, hopefully by the end of March, early April. That will then allow us to do the work to move the Board of Elections office to the Human Services Annex. In terms of sheltering, the Code Blue shelter at Cherry Street continues to shelter between 40 to 50 individuals per night, reaching a high of 70 individuals during the recent winter storm and frigid temperatures. And then lastly, County Administration is working with all departments to compile their 2026 goals. Those will be submitted to each of the committees to which the departments report to. You can expect to see those starting next week at the GO committee, and then moving into early March. All department heads have been invited to attend those initial meetings, so please use that opportunity to ask questions of their 2026 goals. Now moving into the talking points regarding the forthcoming changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. So at a high level, you may have heard that there are expanded work requirements underneath the funding bill HR 1. At the federal level. These will impact work participation and community engagement requirements, and that will now apply to a broader group of SNAP recipients. This expansion affects able-bodied adults without disabilities, recipients aged 55 to 64, and parents with children who are not under 14 years old. Additionally, exemptions previously available to veterans, the homeless, and youth aging out of foster care are being removed. Counties will now be responsible, or will continue to be responsible, for assisting affected recipients to comply with these new federal requirements in order to help them retain their benefits. New York State's Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance is enhancing data systems training and recruitment efforts, and will continue to work closely with county DSS commissioners. It's important to note that beginning in October of this year, the county share of SNAP administrative costs will increase from 50% to 75%. This change will result in at least $170 million in new recurring annual costs for counties in New York City, so that's statewide. And the governor's current proposed budget does not alter the current law requiring counties to pay these administrative costs. Potentially fiscal penalties, so this is another component of the HR 1 bill. New York State's current SNAP payment error rate exceeds 10%. Which means New York State as a whole is exposed to a maximum fiscal penalty of 15% of total SNAP benefit costs, which results in a cost of $1.2 billion. That's the total benefit cost, so it would be 15% of that would be the fiscal penalty to the state. Those penalties will be passed down to the counties. So it is currently undetermined how or if it will be passed down, but the sense that we're getting through our network in NYSAC is that there is no current mechanism for the state to pay those penalties. It's important to note that prior to COVID, New York's average payment error rate was about 5.5%, but since 2020, rates have increased significantly nationwide. Based on 2024 data, New York's error rate reached 14.1%. So that does put the state in the higher penalty rate. Locally, what does this mean? As of December 2025, Tompkins County has 6,953 individuals in 4,447 households receiving SNAP. Of those households, about 3,500 include at least one member who falls within the population subject to these requirements. DSS staff are actively working with households that may qualify for an exemption in order to obtain the necessary supporting documentation. It's difficult at this time to quantify how many recipients may experience a reduction. Impacts will begin after the SNAP waiver expires at the end of this month, followed by a 3-month grace period. So we're looking at the end of May 2026 that we will start to see these impacts to benefits. I did ask our commissioner about the impacts of these requirements and on the current staffing needs. She has indicated that once 5 vacancies are filled, so these are current vacancies within the department, they do anticipate needing at least one additional social welfare examiner in order to meet these increased workload. So we continue to stay informed on the state guidance and the federal guidance regarding the implementation. We need to prepare for increased administrative responsibilities as well as the costs, and we'll continue to work closely with OTDA, DSS, and I know this is an issue at the NISAC level as well that they're looking into. So, Commissioner Earle, I would invite you to contribute anything at this point. If you don't have anything, we'd be happy to take any questions.
The one thing I will add is that for the expanded population, so which Bridget already talked about, which previously the ABOG coverage was for 18 through, now it's 18 through 64. That's up from the previous limits of the age 54. And then the caretakers of children age 14 to 17 without younger children being subject to the new ABOG requirements. So of that expanded population, I'll add that we have approximately 1,700 SNAP recipients who will be either need to meet an exemption or be subject to the ABOG work requirements.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for either Brittany or Bridget? Randy?
Yes, Brittany, how, I know you've been going through and requalifying people because I've had friends who've come down for that purpose. How long before the extensions have to be applied for?
So I guess I need to understand your question a little better.
So you said that they have to apply for extensions. There was 1,400, 1,700, I forgot. Those people.
No, so we have 1,700 SNAP recipients who are part of the expanded population. So they either fall within that age 55 to 64, or they are caretakers of children age 14 to 17 without younger children, or now the former exemptions that no longer apply. So that would be homeless veterans, those aging out of foster care. So those who meet this expanded population are about 1,700 recipients. And what that means is we will work with them to assess whether they meet an exemption or they need to be subject to the new ABOG work requirements. So this happens either at when they're up for recertification. So that depends on individually on their case. So when they come up again for recertification, then our staff will go through that assessment with them to determine if they meet an exemption or they have to meet these new requirements. Or I guess they're not new, but have to meet the ABOG requirements. They're now back on the table.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have Judith and Veronica and Deborah.
Thank you. I think I heard you say that New York State is going to be asked to pay a 15% penalty and that the state doesn't have a plan except to have the county pay its share of that. Is that 15% of the total SNAP payments? that people in our county receive? And so how much money is that 15%?
So the information I have here is and maybe you can help me with this. The total SNAP benefits is $1.2 billion for the state. 15%.
In the county, how much is it in the county?
Brittany, do you have that answer?
For the error rate specifically in the county, or?
For the total SNAP benefit amount.
That I don't off the top of my head, sorry.
I can get that for you.
Thank you.
I can get it for you though, yeah.
Next, I have Veronica and then Deb.
Apologies if I missed this, Bridget, because that was a lot of information. Can you briefly explain what the work requirements are, as in like what counts as work that the ABOD folks have to do if they don't have an exemption from it?
I'll address that to Brittany.
Yeah, so for individuals to remain eligible for their SNAP benefits beyond that 3-month period, ABOD, so able-bodied adults without dependents, must engage in qualifying work or activities of at least 80 hours per month, which can include employment, work and training programs, job search or job readiness activities, participation in approved volunteer or community service programs. And the department's been working actively with numerous community agencies and partners to help individuals and agencies gather documentation, update. We have a platform is what we're calling it, where folks can go to look for work, training, volunteer opportunities so that they can meet these requirements. Agencies are actively working on posting volunteer opportunities to this. So this hasn't been officially rolled out publicly. It's something that we're still doing with partner agencies, but it will be rolling out soon before these requirements take effect. And we're working closely with agencies like Whole Health and their staff, reach any agencies that would have that would need the information to help. Oh, sorry, my office lights went off. Sorry. Working with those agencies so that they have documentation they need for exemption information to help clients fill those documents out and get that paperwork back to us if they qualify for an exemption.
Thank you. That sounds like it's going to be a super great resource, so thanks for working on it.
It's not just me, it's a lot of partner agencies.
Deborah?
Thank you. A couple of questions. So when you get unemployment benefits and you have to go in and apply for jobs, but you don't necessarily have to get one in order to continue getting your benefits, does this work requirement with SNAP require you to actually get a job or perform volunteer work? Or just
so if you don't, to meet that 80 hours per month, it can be a combination of things. So if you only work 20 hours a month part-time, but you are then also volunteering somewhere, or you're searching, or if you're engaged in like a job readiness activity or a training program, all of that counts. The requirements for volunteering or community service, it's very lax, so they can work with the agency to get that paperwork filled out. So say you have someone who they might be volunteering at their church and they're not really thinking of that as something that counts, but it might. So we encourage folks to reach out to their worker at DSS. If they don't know who their worker is, they can call and figure that out with our staff so that they can go through the case with them. These are really case by case. Staff can really dive into what is and isn't meeting these requirements.
Well, it's just that my concern is that there may not be opportunities for some people and it's not their fault. And what happens to them?
Yeah, so that's part of why we're partnering with all these agencies to create this platform. the realization is that there are going to be folks who are subject to these new requirements that have complex needs. So that's why we're working really closely with other agencies, especially agencies that have experience working with folks from diverse backgrounds or working with folks who have complex needs that can meet some of these like volunteering opportunity. They might have an opportunity for them to work with them. And something we're working closely with on agencies is how they post these opportunities. The platform that Human Services Coalition has, they've been instrumental in building out this platform. And one thing that they're doing is giving folks the ability to give them the ability to search for things, to search for a number of hours, days of the week, whether it's on a bus line, what the requirements are of the agency asking. So like, do you need an ID? Do you need a driver's license? So these different things that then folks can work with their DSS worker to really kind of weed out the stuff that they wouldn't even qualify for. And like I said, some of these are pretty lax. So there are going to be things that individuals are engaging in that could be considered a volunteer opportunity that isn't, them going to an agency to do specific kind of volunteering. It's really it's on a case-by-case basis. So if they call and talk with their worker, we can determine what is and isn't. But most of it's the requirements are pretty lenient.
So one last question, if I may. So if the New York statewide error rate is 15%, or 14%, I'm sorry, and the state's going to get hit with a 15% penalty, but I would imagine that the error rates vary from county to county. Is every county going to be dinged for the 15%, or is
That's
Bridget's
my understanding.
shaking her head, yes.
And from the recent NISAC briefing, that is how they outlined it. And the error rate, it's important to know, is it could be an overpayment, it could be an underpayment, it could be a combination of things. And when you have a huge population like we have downstate and in the city, you're going to increase the odds of these error rates. So it is at the state level. I'm not sure they readily share the error rates by county. I know that's a question that was asked on the NISAC call, and we didn't receive that information, but it's my understanding it will be a statewide impact, and then how they decide to pay the penalty is still up for discussion.
Great, thanks. Sure. Good luck, ladies.
Brittany and Bridget, if we receive constituents who have concerns over their SNAP benefits, what action would you like us to take as legislators?
So in the conversations that we've been having with OTDA, is that really supporting pushing back against the stuff that's coming down from the federal government and how negative this is going to be for counties and folks. If you're encountering individuals who have specific questions about their SNAP benefits, then I would encourage you to connect them back to DSS, because like I said, every case is so individualized that the person's worker really needs to be able to go through that case with them, because it could just be the case that they are missing a piece of paperwork or they need a couple hours here to meet something. It really, that depends individually, but as an overall support would just be, voicing the concerns that we all share about this coming down from the top, pushing that back out to, just say like, it's not okay. It's going to affect a lot of people. I can pull more data for you if you have specific stuff that you would like to present upwards. I can share that.
Thank you. I have two more speakers, Judith and Irene, and if we could think about wrapping this up, it's around 6:53, and I just wanted to do a time check. So Judith?
Thanks. I just had a quick follow-up question to Deborah's question about what counts. Does gig work count? Does providing in-home child care count, or does it have to be through a more formal employment?
Yeah, so again, I would encourage the person to reach out to DSS to have the conversation with their worker who is working on the case, because it's different for everyone. There's going to need to be documentation filled out regardless of what is or isn't, of what they're doing. They're going to have to document that and have it signed and whatnot. So I would encourage them to reach out to DSS to talk with their worker so that the worker can help them get the appropriate paperwork they need filled out and let them know whether something does or does not meet the requirement.
Irene?
Yeah, thanks. So Brittany, a few comments. First, this is a little bit soapbox and not just straightforward question, but one of the things that I ran on was that if there's a silver lining to all of the chaos that's raining down on us, it's that we are going to figure out how to relocalize our efforts and to really knit together as a community to take care of each other. And which isn't to say that we haven't done that, but I think that this will just push us further in that direction. And so I'm actually really excited to hear about the kind of networking that you're building with agencies and at the same time. And so that's the little soapbox piece is that, you know, to me, there is like this mixed opportunity in this. And having said that, I don't want to minimize that. I can only imagine that this is demoralizing to your staff and to your clients, to the people that you're working with. And I just wonder how you guys are holding up, how clients are responding, and you know, and what it's really looking like for people. Another piece, and I'll just put them all on the table and let you pick up with them. Is you touched on this a little bit, but there could be some significant transportation needs for people to fulfill these requirements, and I wonder, are you networking with various transportation resources, and is that working well for you? And the last piece is just about the error rates, and with all of these new reporting requirements, and I understand there's a change in the timeline of when you have to get stuff in. Can we actually expect that the error rates are inevitably going to be going up?
So in terms of, I'll start with the transportation. So TCAT is part of the partnership on this work group that we have going for SNAP. Again, that platform allows individuals to search for things on the bus line, whether they need transportation there or not. And we work closely with TCAT and Frank Doldo and other transportation people to meet the needs of individuals that require transportation to places. That still is an ongoing struggle for clients, for staff to navigate, especially for folks who live outside the city limits, where the bus routes are not as often or not as accessible. So that is something that we're still actively working on figuring out. It's always an issue. In terms of staffing, Bridget, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just itching my head.
In terms of staffing, Bridget covered the position, but to kind of put that into perspective, SNAP workers carry caseloads upwards of 500 cases. And these new ABOD requirements it's going to look like 20 to 25% more work added on to what they're already doing, because those assessments take longer. And then in terms of the error rates, again, that number is factored at the state level. I also asked if we could break it down by county to my eligibility staff, and it's not clear. That error rate is given to us by the state. But again, error rates, it can come back to what clients are giving, like what's being, I guess, how do I say this? What clients are turning in, are reporting. So like if they have one sick day or overtime, like that can jeopardize eligibility and increase error rates. But then staffing too. I mean, if we have staff who increasingly keep getting caseloads, like caseload numbers are increasing, then that's harder for them to, be mindful of everything they're going through. However, like we have worked closely with county administration to prepare for this. We've known it's coming for a while. So we've been putting in for positions, and we're working diligently to make sure that staff are being as accurate as possible when they're going through all of these.
Thanks. And just more at a personal level, I mean, are you guys, as I said, I can only imagine how demoralizing this is for both your staff and for the people that you're working with. So I just wonder how people are responding, how your staff are doing, what kind of support you might need.
Yeah, I think on the client level, we'll start to see that more, how that impact is affecting them, especially when individuals are up for recertification and they realize they're subject to the new requirements or they no longer meet the minimum requirements. So again, that first countable month is going to be March. The first impact on benefits is going to be June. So we'll start to see how that plays out with clients. However, our staff are actively working to make sure that clients that are going to be affected by this know that they're going to be affected, what that means for their case, what they can do. And then, I mean, for staff, yeah, it's definitely difficult for staff to have to deliver bad news or to be on the other end of the phone if someone receives a letter and they don't understand it and they're calling to try to understand it. And sometimes you have to navigate, high tense situations, and that's uncomfortable for staff and clients. And supervisors are working really closely with their units, especially the SNAP workers and Medicaid, which we won't even get into right now. But to make sure staff are supported to be able to handle the increase in calls, the increase in people in the lobby coming into the building, and just making sure that we're being flexible where we can, saying thank you and being supportive and just helping staff feel appreciated for what they're doing.
Adam, why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah, this is just a quick question for Bridget. I just want to fill some gaps in my notes. Could you repeat how much SNAP will increase as a share of county costs and how much it will increase our costs by specifically?
So the percentage of administrative costs will increase from 50% to 75%. I don't have a dollar figure for what that means here locally. However, it will be $170 million in an annual basis at the state level.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Brittany. You did amazing tonight. You were able to, I bet we asked 300 questions, and you were able to answer them all. Very impressive. Thank you, Bridget. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Next, we have Maury Josephson, our county attorney.
Looking around the room, I think just about everybody at the table has some new substantive question that has been brought to our office's attention since the beginning of the year, and we are working away on those, and we'll roll them out as appropriate in advice of counsel and executive sessions and publicly. Depending on what the subject matter is, but they pretty much cover the gamut of everything we're doing right now, which is great. And if any of you haven't submitted new inquiries or questions, feel free. Not able to go into the subject matters or the specifics of any of those because it's all in a privileged state at the moment, but if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Any questions for Maury that would be public consumption? Okay, thank you, Maury. Next, we're joined by Director of Finance, Daryl Tuttle.
Good evening. Main focus of my department recently is getting ready for year end. We're gathering all the information, making sure it gets into the county's ledgers in order for our audit about mid to late April. I am pleased to report we had the county had a successful bond issuance last week. The results are 13.9 million in bond anticipation notes with a net interest of 2.4%. Just to put that in perspective, the bond anticipation notes that we had last year were at 2.8%. So it went really well. This about 9.5 million of this is new money. The rest is renewing monies from last year in order to continue our projects as we move forward, and anticipation to roll some of them into bonds. Other than that, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Daryl? Irene?
Can you just remind me, I know we've talked about this before, what is a bond anticipation note?
When you do a bond, you're kind of locked into a rate with some callable terms, and it's a set rate that you pay throughout the term of the bond. A ban or bond anticipation note is kind of like a line of credit that you pay just an interest based on the amount that you borrow for the year. That sometimes is just for cash flow purposes, but in many cases it's to turn it into a bond. For example, if we were to build a building that took 5 years, you may ban to have the funds to do the construction, and it also gives you the opportunity to pay it down during that time. But once you lock into a bond, you get a better, you then have a schedule that you have to pay on, unless you have callable terms throughout the term. If I didn't answer that well, I can try to answer it a little better later.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll visit it again and again.
Adam Vinson?
So what project, if there was one, were these bond issue? Sorry, the bond notes. What were they tied to? Like what specific project, or just in general?
It's a variety of highway projects, including the Cortlandt Street Bridge replacement, Podunk Road, Midline Culvert, also 2 years of road improvements. These will probably be turned into a bond once next year. Also, about 740,000 of it is cash flow for landfill project. And road machinery, in order to give us the funds to purchase some road machinery. There's a long lead time due to backup of purchasing these products. About 2 million is for that, and 4 million is for the facilities restoration program. Thank you.
Any other questions for Daryl? Great, thank you, Daryl. Are there any other reports from county staff? Okay. Are there any resolutions to be added to or withdrawn from the agenda? Okay, we have a consent agenda. Those are resolutions and appointments to be voted on as a group unless any member of the legislature requests that a resolution or appointment be instead included separately and individually as part of the business of standing or special committees. We do have one advisory board appointment, ID 13827. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Irene, seconded by Christy. And the advisory board appointment is for the Environmental Management Council, EMC. Daniel Pete Lokes, Town of Ithaca representative, term expires December 31st, 2026. And all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to the standing and special committees. And Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Lee Shurtleff, Chair.
Facilities and Infrastructure will be meeting on the 19th at 10 o'clock a.m. and no further report tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Lee? Thank you, Lee. Government Operations Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
Yes, our first meeting is going to be Tuesday the 10th at 9 a.m. And we're going to try to carry on the torch that Amanda carried. And we're going to get reports from all the people that report to that committee and kind of get familiar. We have a lot of new members on that committee, so we're just going to start a learning phase. So.
Thank you, Randy. I did also meet with the new library director, Emerson, and the board chair, Jason, the other day for coffee, and I'm very hopeful. They're really excited to get started. It sounds like the staff is very receptive and ready to get to work. So just to report back there. Next we have, are there any questions for Randy? Okay. Health and Human Services Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We haven't had a meeting since December. We have one coming up in 2 weeks, and we're really excited.
Any questions for Travis? Okay, thanks, Travis. Next is the Housing and Economic Development Committee, Greg Mezzi, Chair.
We are very excited for our meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. As the committee, I'm going to deem always first because we are going to now be the first Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. Same bat channel, but new time. So we have on our agenda some appointments to the Industrial Development Agency, some other legislator appointments and committee liaison assignments. There's a member filed resolution that's still in discussion around cryptocurrency. There's also Tompkins County workforce development updates and a resolution to select an applicant for Tompkins County submittal to the New York State County Infrastructure Grant Program, which is a great program that the state of New York has, and excited to have more discussion around that tomorrow, along with the tourism program update.
Great. Any questions for Greg? Also, just to let you all know, I did meet with Nan from Downtown Ithaca Alliance a few days ago, and we talked about some of the developments in downtown Ithaca. It will be forthcoming probably in the next week or so. They have invited all of the legislators to their office to discuss some of the projects and some of their visions for the upcoming year. So stay tuned for that. I think we're looking at a Wednesday. And so that should be coming to your inbox. Also met with Chris Bond, who met with the chair for that advisory board as well. And they talked about their vision with some of the workforce training programs that they have, as well as their desire to remain an independent and not be combined with some of the other workforce development in our region. So that sounded like a good idea. Next is Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. Irene Weiser, Chair.
Great, thanks. So we'll be meeting this coming Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I just want to show off that the Environmental Committee has a green cover sheet.
Very nice.
Kudos to the clerks for that choice of color. We've got a packed agenda coming up I'm very excited and thankful to all of our members that we're going to be filling up our advisory board and appointments from the committee. So thank you to everybody who stepped up for that. We'll also be hearing from both the Department of Planning and Sustainability and also Recycling and Materials Management to basically have them introduce themselves to our committee members. All of us are new legislators on PEAK, and so we'll hear from them about who they are, what they do, have a little bit of Q&A. We'll also have a presentation from the Planning Department on the results of the employee commuting survey that was done a while ago, and we will also be having an executive session at the end.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Irene? Irene, were you able to fill all of the liaison appointments?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to communicate, but yeah, we got it all, and I think it's all within our committee except maybe, Randy, I think you stayed on for one piece, didn't you?
Soil and water.
Soil and water. So thanks to Randy for continuing, and everybody else really stepped up their game, so thank you.
That's great, thank you. Next is Public Safety Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We are looking forward and very excited to our first meeting on February 24th.
Great.
Somehow you just don't seem that excited tonight, Travis.
I don't have anything yet.
Okay, any questions for Travis? Okay. Next, Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Veronica Pillar, Chair.
We have also not met since our last meeting or since the new year, but we will be meeting February 23rd at 10 a.m. Fourth Mondays at 10 a.m. are the time this year, which is a change. Also very excited for whatever may come.
Great. Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, Deborah Dawson, Chair.
Well, the thing I'm most excited about is this hot pink paper. Thanks to the clerks for accommodating my color choice. I really appreciate that. We will be meeting next Monday at 10 a.m. We have some fairly routine resolutions. We are going to have a report on the City of Ithaca's dispatch costs, which I think will probably be of interest to several people who are revisiting the sales tax agreement. And also, we will be discussing our committee goals.
Any questions for Deborah? Lee Shirtliff.
Following along with the old government operations, you're not expecting us to wear that color to the meeting.
Lee, if needed, I have some that you can borrow.
You don't have a tie that's this color?
Not quite.
We're going to work on that.
Lee, I can loan you this.
We'll get you something. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Deborah, do you think we could look up the cost of all the paper that we're consuming with all these committee agendas for this coming fiscal year?
Why are you picking on
That color
me?
was flown in from Singapore.
I'm just saying, we do have some sustainability policies, some green goals and initiatives, and there's an awful lot of paper floating around this place.
Yeah, and a lot of it is that ugly orange stuff that you've got.
Let's not go there.
Have I only
Okay.
get the cover sheet?
Veronica Pillar is next.
Unfortunately, I also just remembered something about the cover sheet colors. One, we should all wear hot pink sometime. It would be cool if WDIC could have a color this year, because we never do. But there's still time. Thank you. Purple.
I think you need a rainbow color. Is there rainbow paper?
Or I'll tell you what we do. We get it printed on white paper with the logo in color, which is very cool. But then I saw the hot pink and was jealous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand.
Okay. We do have an individual member filed resolution. And if I could have a mover, Christie would like to move that, and that's Resolution A, authorizing a public hearing on proposed local law number A of 2026, a local law amending the authorization exemption from taxes pursuant to Section 467 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law for certain older residents. ID 13802. If I could have a seconder, please. Travis Brooks, seconds. And Christie, would you like to talk to this resolution?
I would. Thank you so much, Shauna. My parents had to leave Tompkins County because property taxes on a fixed income became unaffordable. This resolution increases the maximum property tax exemption for low-income seniors from 50% to 65% at a cost of only $2.36 per year for the median homeowner. According to the Housing Snapshot, our goal was 100 to 200 affordable senior units by 2025, and at this point, we've built 68. Wait times are 6 months to 5 years. Market options cost $1,800 to $5,600 per month. We haven't been able to build the housing. This helps seniors stay in the homes that they have, and this also helps those who live with seniors to stay in their homes as well. And it is notable that the City of Ithaca passed this same expansion unanimously last year. So for $2.36 per household, we can help people who contributed to the community for decades to afford to stay. And so I move to authorize a public hearing on this local law, which is RPTL 467, the low-income senior exemption.
Thank you very much. And just to point out, this resolution is simply to allow for a public hearing. It's not for us to debate the merits of it this evening. Certainly we could, but my guess is we're probably going to end up debating it whenever it comes to us in a few weeks. So just wanted to put that out there. Any more questions or comments to this? Greg Mezzi?
Just a point of information, Jay, it looked like there was maybe a factual statement that you're in disagreement with. I just wondered if you could clarify. I know the city passed a similar type resolution, maybe their scale was different. Is that what you were shaking your head for?
Correct. Yeah, this was just an option that came about this year as part of the 25-26 legislative session. Governor Hochul signed this bill into law in December. So I had brought it to GO back in August to say, hey, let's just be prepared because they like to wait until the last second to get things done. So if we have to have this adopted by March 1, I wanted to be in place. At that time, GO said, no, we're not going to do it. We'll take a look next year at both the scale. And that's what the city of Ithaca increased last year. So for us, for a 50% exemption, our income is only $36,500, but the city of Ithaca went all the way up to the state maximum. For income under $50,000, they get a 50% exemption. So that was the difference. As of who else is doing this, I've talked to Lansing, Ulysses, and the town of Ithaca, and provided them an analysis, and it's all pretty similar. It's about $1 increase in their taxes to the average homeowner. So I don't know if they'll get it done, but those three municipalities have indicated that they are trying to do that this year.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the public hearing resolution? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. That passes. Thank you. Next, we have the minutes of our previous two meetings, January 20th and January 26th. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Randy, seconded by Dan. Any corrections, questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor for the meeting minutes for January 20th and 26th, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you all. And we do have some unfinished business in an executive session. Can I have a mover to move into executive session for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporations or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation? Moved by Rachel, seconded by Dan. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Iris, did you want to vote for that? Okay. That is unanimous, and we're going to go ahead and go into executive session and take about 9 minutes. At 7:30, we'll resume. And we do not need any staff other than Ruby. Probably so, yes.